This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
No one will deter me or my family or any Pennsylvanian from celebrating their faith openly and proudly.
We are educating people on what the separation of church and state really means.
A successful launch of 6 women who went beyond the edge of space.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Good afternoon and welcome to the broadcast. I'm Family Life News anchor Sarah Harnish. Arson attack update. President Trump is weighing in on the man that firebombed Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's mansion on Sunday.
The attacker basically wasn't a fan of anybody. It's probably just a whack job.
The blaze caused significant damage, but the governor and his family asleep inside were unharmed. It happened hours after the governor had celebrated the first night of the Jewish Passover. Shapiro speaking to the press this morning.
No one will deter me or my family or any Pennsylvanian from celebrating their faith openly and proudly.
The suspect, 38-year-old Cody Balmer of Pembroke, is in police custody and charged with attempted murder, terrorism, and arson. Harrisburg Fire Chief Brian Enterline.
He is a domestic terrorist, and I hope that he spends a lot of time behind jail for the heinous acts that he performed here in our capital city that put not only the first family, but my firefighters at risk.
Balmer's mother says he had a long history of mental illness, but no one wanted to treat him. A magnitude 5.2 earthquake hit San Diego County today. Some windows shattered, but all looks to be okay. So says Ramona Mayor Tim Connolly.
There was no question. It wasn't like you wondered if we had an earthquake. It was a real shaker. The first thud made you think someone may have dropped something, and then it built from there.
In Washington, President Trump met with the president of El Salvador today to talk about the prisons he's building to house illegal immigrant gang members being deported out of the United States.
I just asked the president, it's this massive complex that he built, jail complex. I said, can you build some more of them, please?
On Sunday, President Trump issued a Palm Sunday message at the start of Holy Week, promising to defend the Christian faith in our schools, military, workplaces, hospitals, and halls of government. He just launched a fully staffed, brand new White House faith office. Jennifer Corrin is the director.
We are educating people on what the separation of church and state really means. What it really means is that the government can't dictate to you what religion you can be, but it doesn't mean that people of faith can't be a voice in their government.
Corrin told Fox News people of faith can now go right to the White House to air their complaints.
To sit at that table in the White House and have a voice with the president, the cabinet members, and to be able to make the policy and help implement the policies.
Yeah, that's so important. They have been trying to kick Christians out of the public square for so long.
The president will host an Easter dinner on Wednesday with Franklin Graham, one of his honored guests. Come to Kyiv. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky was on 60 Minutes. He asked Donald Trump to visit his country.
Come, look, and then let's move with a plan how to finish the war. You will understand with whom you have a deal.
And for the first time in 62 years, an all-female spaceship crossed the edge of space today. 2, 1, ignition. It was a flawless execution. Analyst Mark Strassman.
A successful launch, space experience, and landing now of 6 women who went up beyond the Kármán line, beyond the edge of space, floated for 3 minutes or so, had some extraordinary views.
CBS reporter Peter King.
CBS's Gayle King kissed the ground after leaving the spacecraft.
Thank you, Jesus.
She made no secret of her fear heading into this, telling a Blue Origin interviewer.
The flight instructor said that I am her best success story. Why? Because she's never had somebody go through the course who's terrified of flying.
Still to come on the 5 o'clock report, New York Republicans introduce a bill to reinstate some 2,000 corrections officers that went on strike. A university in Erie hit with deportations, and DEI in New York schools. Our own Bob Price sits down with Dr. Ralph Kerr to break it down after weather with Kevin Williams.
It will be generally cloudy tonight and tomorrow. Some showers across the area. There'll be some evening thunder in parts of western and central Pennsylvania as well. Low temps tonight, 40s. Cooler tomorrow than it was today. Highs in the upper 40s and 50s with gusty winds and falling afternoon temperatures or sunny. Brisk and colder tomorrow night, Wednesday. Rain showers and snow showers. High temperatures on Wednesday, upper 30s and 40s, but the wind chill will be a factor on Wednesday as well.
Thank you, Kevin. Checking the stories making news where you live across New York and Pennsylvania. We're learning more about that 38-year-old man who allegedly tried to burn down the governor of Pennsylvania's house on Sunday. Court documents filed today allege Corey Balmer had planned to attack Josh Shapiro if he found him inside. Harrisburg Fire Chief Brian Enterline.
This fire was meant to get that satisfaction of I was able to displace the governor. I was able to attack the governor, right? This was a personal attack.
State police surveillance cameras show Balmer climbing over the perimeter fence and breaking an exterior window with a hammer before throwing 2 Molotov cocktails into the building. A pair of New York State Republican lawmakers have introduced a bill calling for the reinstatement of some 2,000 fired corrections officers. The bill would grant a grace period to the fired officers to return to work without retribution after Democratic Governor Kathy Hochul attempted to permanently bar the strikers from ever working for the state again. Erie's Gannon University can add its name to the growing list of colleges in New York and Pennsylvania with international students and postgrads that have had their visas terminated. Immigration attorney Alexandria Iwanenko tells Jet TV some visas appear to have been pulled for infractions as minor as a traffic violation.
That charge might not even stick. I do think part of the motive here is to scare people into leaving.
But border czar Tom Homan defended the approach.
Being in this country with a visa or a resident alien card is a privilege, and you got to follow certain rules.
UPenn, Penn State, Pitt, Temple, and Carnegie Mellon have also reported student visas being pulled, as well as several universities in upstate New York. A western Pennsylvania nuclear waste site from decades ago in Parks Township near Pittsburgh will finally be cleaned up. Family Life's Brian Query has more.
The Army Corps of Engineers has announced it is targeting this fall to start cleanup of the nuclear waste dump, which was operated by the Nuclear Materials and Equipment Corporation, or NUMEC, in the 1960s and early 70s, leaving behind enriched uranium and other harmful substances, not to mention a community fearful of possible health detriments. Officials are expected to remove and ship out 10 trenches worth of radioactive and otherwise toxic waste, which will be loaded onto a train and taken for permanent disposal in Utah. Brian Query, Family Life News.
Next at 5, a lot of schools are on spring break this week, but that doesn't stop the issues. Our own Bob Price sits down with Dr. Ralph Kerr of the Teaching and Learning Institute to talk DEI. Let's listen in.
A big issue in New York. The state education department is not playing ball with the Trump administration when it comes to DEI. President Trump has made no bones about it. End it or you will lose federal funding. The state says the federal government does not have the authority to issue such an edict. Ultimately, do you expect the New York Education Department to cave here?
Well, nobody likes the word cave, especially if you're on that end of it, because that sounds like you just gave up. I don't think they will cave, but I do think there'll be some compromise. The feds have definitely said there's going to be consequences, and they'll work that out eventually, but it'll take a while to get there, I think.
All right. Well, 16 states, Ralph, including New York and Pennsylvania, are suing the Trump administration. They want restoration of COVID relief for schools. Pennsylvania says it's owed $183 million. New York State says it's owed $134 million. The states argue that they have until 2026 to spend this COVID cash. Education Secretary Linda McMahon says you've had ample time to decide how to spend that money.
It sounds like when you say that we're owed the money, it sounds like you've already spent it, and so you're going to provide receipts. And with the receipts, you can take the money. The problem is, I don't think they actually spent the money. At least they didn't spend it on COVID.
You can subscribe, listen to, and share this feature, Issues in Education, and all of Family Life's original podcasts at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or at familylife.org. Time next for tonight's market report, brought to you by Faithward Advisors. Stocks are closing higher after a choppy session to start the week on Wall Street. At the closing bell, the Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 312 points to 4524. The S&P 500 rose 42 points to 5405, and the Nasdaq climbed 107 points to 16831. Faithward Advisors is a Christian financial planning firm online at faithwardadvisors.com.
This is Holy Week, the week leading up to the Friday crucifixion, and praise God, to the resurrection. Hi, I'm Rob West with a Faith and Finance Minute. During this week, Christians recall the Last Supper. They remember the betrayal by Judas Iscariot, the trial before Pilate, the denial by Peter, and Jesus' death on the cross. But the story doesn't end there. This Sunday, believers around the world will celebrate the resurrection, when Jesus arose victorious over sin and death. Because of the resurrection, we can live in hope, knowing Jesus is alive, and he's preparing a place for us in heaven. Here's one of the best sermon titles ever. It's Friday, but Sunday's coming. Things may look awful at times, but for the Christian, Jesus Christ has made even the grave a place of hope. Manage your finances wisely with the easy-to-use FaithFi app. Download FaithFi, Faith and Finance from your app store, or learn more at faithfi.com.
Coming up on the 5 o'clock report, what is the greatest Christian movie of all time? You can cast your vote, but the clock ends tonight. We'll have more with Focus on the Family after weather with Kevin Williams.
It will be generally cloudy tonight and tomorrow. Some showers across the area. There'll be some evening thunder in parts of western and central Pennsylvania as well. Low temps tonight, 40s. Cooler tomorrow than it was today. Highs in the upper 40s and 50s with gusty winds and falling afternoon temperatures for some. Brisk and cold tomorrow night, Wednesday. Rain showers and snow showers. High temperatures on Wednesday, upper 30s and 40s, but the wind chill will be a factor on Wednesday as well.
Finally, at 5, Focus on the Family has a movie contest going on until midnight tonight that you can take part in. What is the greatest Christian movie of all time? I sat down with Plugged In managing editor Brett Eckelberry to get the deets. March is over, but you've created your own version of March Madness, but for movies, which is your MO. So can you tell me about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we created Christian Movie Madness, a full March Madness style bracket with only Christian movies. So 64 Christian movies have gone into it. We've asked our audience to vote over time, and we're down to the final 2. We're down to the championship round of Christian Movie Madness now.
So you had them all pitted against each other, and how did you break the divisions up?
The way that we had to seed it out, right, that was kind of our first challenge. We found a Box Office Mojo list of Christian films over the years that are adjusted for inflation in terms of their box office gross. And that's how we got our 1 through 64. And from there, then we created the 4 divisions, which, of course, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, we just felt that was appropriate. So we had 1 through 16 in each division, and that's how we laid it all out.
This is so much fun. Why would you put something like this together?
We wanted to maybe reintroduce movies to people who it had been a long time since they'd seen some of these movies, and we wanted to introduce people to movies that maybe they hadn't seen before, to just see the whole scope and breadth of what Christian filmmaking has been over the years.
To see 64 of the top grossing movies in one bracket is kind of a cool concept.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and honestly, for me as well, even though, hey, this is what I do, this is what the team does, there were plenty of movies on here that I hadn't seen, and this has encouraged me to go back and watch some of the films that maybe I had missed.
The voting, it ends tonight, so I know it's down to just 2 movies now, 2 teams. Can they still take part?
Yes, we would love people to continue voting through the end of the evening. We'll announce the winner tomorrow, but through the end of the day today, we want people to vote. The 2 movies are Passion of the Christ versus Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Ooh, which one would you vote for?
I would lean toward Passion of the Christ personally. I watched that growing up, and I remember watching it in the theaters, and it really impacted me. But there is a lot of love for Chronicles of Narnia, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Not just the movies, but the stories, right? There's a lot of love out there for that. So either way, you can't go wrong.
Well, Passion is good, but Brett, I'm Team Narnia, so we're going to have to be pitted against each other. I'm going to get my Narnia jersey on. I'm diehard Narnia. But where can they go to vote?
People can vote by going to pluggedin.com/Christian Movie Madness. It's pluggedin.com/Christian Movie Madness. That's our landing page for this whole event. People can see past results from the whole bracket there. But most importantly, you've got the link to vote either Passion of the Christ or Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Brett Eckleberry, the Plugged In managing editor, thank you so much for your time and for a cool game, a neat way to get Christians introduced to movies maybe they haven't seen before.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Sarah. I appreciate it.
I am going to pop on tomorrow and see if Narnia won, but I don't know. Going up against Jesus is pretty legit. Like that's
yeah, I tell people it's like you're either voting for the adaptation of the actual story or you're voting for the adaptation of an allegory of the actual story. So again, you can't go wrong, right? Aslan's a pretty good one to vote for too.
You have until midnight tonight to vote for the greatest Christian movie of all time. Pluggedin.com/Christian Movie Madness to cast your vote. Go check it out. And that's the world that we live in for Monday, the 14th of April. I'm Sarah Harnish, and this is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.